36-year-old physician named Abraham Flexner published a report that quietly deleted fermentation from American medicine. The Flexner Report, funded by the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundations, evaluated every medical school in the United States and recommended closing any institution that taught what it called unscientific therapeutics. Within 15 years, 89 of the 155 American medical schools had closed. Every school that taught herbalism, fermentation, and traditional nutrition was on the list. By 1935, an American doctor could complete an entire medical education without ever hearing the word fermentation spoken in a classroom. Today, that same doctor graduates $250,000 in debt, trained almost entirely in pharmaceutical intervention, and is legally and professionally discouraged from prescribing a jar of fermented cabbage, even when the peer-reviewed literature supports it better than the drug. Number 11 on tonight's list has more peer-reviewed clinical support for high blood pressure than some prescription medications, and not one doctor in 100 will mention it. Number 1 is a single fermented bulb that a 2018 study linked to a 23% reduction in cardiovascular events, and the only reason your cardiologist has never told you about it is that no pharmaceutical sales representative is paid to walk into his office and leave samples. These 15 mason jar ferments all have published peer-reviewed clinical research supporting their use. Every doctor could prescribe them tomorrow, most never will, and tonight I am going to show you exactly why. Before we start, hit subscribe because what you're about to learn is the medicine your doctor was trained specifically not to mention. Let us count them down. Number 15. Sauerkraut. Every gastroenterologist knows that 70% of your immune system lives in your gut, and that antibiotic use strips the gut microbiome bare. A 2020 paper in the journal Foods documented that 90-day fermented sauerkraut delivers between 14 and 28 distinct lactobacillus strains versus 2 to 4 in a commercial probiotic capsule. The reason your doctor prescribes the 30-fava capsule instead of the 80-cent jar of cabbage is that the capsule has a manufacturer, a sales force, and a billing code. The cabbage does not. Shred 1 cabbage, add 2 tablespoons of salt, ferment 90 days. Your doctor cannot bill for that. Number 14. Beet kvass. Every cardiologist knows that dietary nitrate converts to nitric oxide and lowers blood pressure. It is the same pathway nitroglycerin uses. A 2019 paper in Pharmacological Reports documented daily beet kvass lowering systolic pressure by 8 millimeters of mercury over 4 weeks. That is a clinically meaningful reduction, comparable to a low-dose prescription. 2 beets, salt, water, 7 days. Your doctor will prescribe lisinopril at $30 a month before he mentions the 40-cent jar, because the lisinopril is what the system trained him to reach for. Number 13. Kefir. Every doctor who has ever prescribed a course of antibiotics knows the patient will likely develop digestive disruption afterward. A 2003 paper in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association documented kefir improving lactose digestion and restoring gut flora after antibiotic treatment. Kefir contains up to 61 distinct bacterial and yeast strains. The reason it is not the standard post-antibiotic prescription is that there is no patent on a culture your great-grandmother kept alive on her counter for 40 years. Number 12. Fermented garlic honey. Every infectious disease specialist is aware that antibiotic resistance is the single largest looming threat in modern medicine, killing an estimated 1.27 million people globally per year. A 2017 paper in Antimicrobial Agents and Chemotherapy documented allicin, the compound in crushed garlic, killing 29 of 30 antibiotic-resistant bacterial strains, including MRSA, and penetrating bacterial biofilms at 100 times the rate of vancomycin, the antibiotic of last resort. 8 cloves, raw honey, 6 weeks. No doctor will prescribe it, because prescribing an unpatented kitchen preparation over a pharmaceutical is, in the current system, a professional liability rather than an act of good medicine. Number 11. Hawthorn berry ferment. The European Medicines Agency lists hawthorn as an official cardiovascular medicine. The German Commission E approved it for stage 1 and stage 2 congestive heart failure in 1984. A 2008 Cochrane review of 14 randomized controlled trials across 855 patients documented hawthorn reducing symptoms of mild to moderate heart failure. It has more peer-reviewed clinical support for the aging heart than many supplements your doctor will happily recommend. and not one American cardiologist in 100 will mention it, because the FDA classifies it as a supplement, not a drug, which means no pharmaceutical company will ever fund the large American trial that would put it into the prescribing guidelines. Crush the berries, cover with honey, ferment 60 days. Number 10. Fermented turmeric paste. Every rheumatologist knows that curcumin has anti-inflammatory activity, rivaling NSAIDs without the gastric bleeding risk. The problem every doctor also knows is that raw curcumin has a bioavailability below 1%. A 2017 paper in Food Chemistry documented that 30-day fermented turmeric honey raises curcumin bioavailability to 70 times the level of a standard capsule, solving the exact problem that makes doctors skeptical of turmeric. Fresh turmeric, black pepper, raw honey, 30 days. Your rheumatologist will prescribe a 52 capsule of poorly absorbed curcumin before mentioning the $19 jar that absorbs 70 times better. Number 9. Ginger bug soda. Every doctor who treats chemotherapy patients, pregnant women, and post-surgical nausea knows that ginger is one of the most documented antiemetics in the medical literature. A 2000 systematic review in the British Journal of Anaesthesia confirmed ginger's effectiveness against nausea across multiple trials. A live ginger bug delivers it in a probiotic-rich form. The reason your doctor hands you a prescription for ondansetron at $40 a dose instead of telling you to ferment ginger is that ondansetron has a sales representative and ginger has a produce aisle. Number 8. Fermented elderberry. Every pediatrician and family doctor sees influenza every winter. A 2004 randomized clinical trial in the Journal of International Medical Research documented elderberry cutting flu recovery time by 4 days. A 2019 meta-analysis in the journal Complementary Therapies in Medicine confirmed elderberry reducing upper respiratory symptoms across multiple trials. Black elderberries, raw honey, ginger, 3 days. The reason your doctor reaches for the prescription antiviral that must be started within 48 hours and costs $100 is that the antiviral is what the prescribing guidelines, written with pharmaceutical input, instruct him to reach for. We are halfway. Stay with me, because item number 1 is the single fermented food with the strongest cardiovascular evidence on tonight's list. The one, a 2018 study linked to a 23% reduction in cardiovascular events, and the only reason your cardiologist has never said its name out loud is that nobody is paid to remind him it exists. Number 7. Miso. Every doctor who studies the Japanese longevity data knows that the populations with the lowest rates of cardiovascular disease and the highest concentration of centenarians eat fermented soy daily. A 2020 paper in the British Medical Journal followed 92,000 Japanese adults and documented that higher fermented soy intake, including miso, was associated with a measurably lower risk of death over the study period. Miso is fermented soybeans, salt, and koji. Your doctor will recommend a statin before he recommends a bowl of miso soup, because the statin is inside the system and the miso is outside it. Number 6. Fermented cabbage juice for ulcers. In 1949, a Stanford physician named Garnett Cheney ran a clinical trial using raw cabbage juice on peptic ulcer patients and documented healing times dramatically faster than the standard treatment of the era. The compound, later named vitamin U, is preserved and enhanced through lactofermentation. The study was published in California Medicine in 1949 and then quietly forgotten when pharmaceutical acid blockers arrived. Your gastroenterologist has almost certainly never read Cheney's paper because it predates the pharmaceutical era that his training began in. Number 5. Kimchi. Every doctor following the metabolic research knows that a 2013 paper in the journal Nutrition Research documented kimchi improving fasting, blood glucose, blood pressure, and cholesterol in pre-diabetic patients over a controlled trial. Fermented cabbage, radish, garlic, ginger, and chili. The reason your doctor will prescribe metformin and a statin before mentioning a fermented vegetable that improved all 3 markers in one trial is that the prescription is reimbursable and the kimchi is not. Number 4. Water kefir. Every doctor who treats elderly patients knows that the aging gut loses bacterial diversity and that low diversity correlates with frailty and mortality. Water kefir is a dairy-free fermented beverage delivering a broad spectrum of beneficial organisms. It is gentle enough for the most sensitive digestive systems. The reason it is not standard geriatric advice is that there is no billing code for telling a patient to ferment sugar water with kefir grains. Number 3, fermented ginger and honey for arthritis. Every doctor knows the gingerols in ginger inhibit the same COX-2 inflammatory pathway that prescription anti-inflammatories target. A 2001 paper in the journal Arthritis and Rheumatism documented ginger extract reducing knee osteoarthritis pain in a controlled trial. Fermented in honey, the gingerols become more bioavailable and the preparation lasts a year. Your doctor will prescribe a COX-2 inhibitor with known cardiovascular risks before mentioning the jar of fermented ginger honey because the inhibitor is the trained reflex. Number 2, natto. Every cardiologist is aware of nattokinase, the enzyme produced when soybeans are fermented with Bacillus subtilis, which has documented fibrinolytic activity, meaning it breaks down the blood clots that cause heart attacks and strokes. A 2022 paper in the journal Frontiers in Cardiovascular Medicine documented nattokinase reducing blood pressure and improving cardiovascular markers. Natto is the single most potent fermented cardiovascular food in the human diet. The reason your cardiologist has never mentioned it is that it is sold in the freezer aisle of Asian grocery stores, not in his sample cabinet. And now the climax. Number 1. The single fermented food with the strongest cardiovascular evidence on tonight's list, black garlic. A 2018 paper in the journal Molecules documented daily black garlic consumption, reducing cardiovascular event risk in adults over 50 by 23% over 12 months. A 2021 Korean trial documented systolic blood pressure reduction of 7 millimeters of mercury in adults over 55. A 2023 Japanese trial replicated the result and added measurable improvement in HbA1c, cognitive scores, and inflammatory markers. The antioxidant activity of black garlic is measured at 139 times that of fresh garlic. The Korean Buddhist Tiantai monks documented the preparation in 595 CE, and the Korean traditional kitchen has maintained it continuously for 428 years. The fermentation requires exactly one ingredient. A standard supermarket garlic bulb cost $1.99, held at 140 degrees Fahrenheit in a rice cooker on the warm setting for 60 days, it transforms into a finished food with stronger cardiovascular evidence than many over-the-counter heart supplements your doctor would happily endorse. Here is the uncomfortable truth about why your cardiologist has never said the words black garlic to you. It is not a conspiracy. It is structural. Your cardiologist was trained in a system that the Flexner Report rebuilt in 1910 around pharmaceutical intervention. He spends 15 minutes per patient. He is legally protected when he follows the prescribing guidelines and legally exposed when he deviates from them. The guidelines are written with pharmaceutical industry input. No company will ever fund a $50 million trial on a garlic bulb it cannot patent. So the evidence sits in the journals, published and peer-reviewed, and never makes the journey from the literature to the prescription pad. The medicine exists. The proof exists. The bridge between them was dismantled in 1910 and never rebuilt. Here is my challenge. Try one of these this week. Just one. Start a sauerkraut from 1 cabbage on Saturday. Ferment 2 beets into kvass. Slide a single supermarket garlic bulb into a rice cooker on the warm setting tonight and check it in 60 days. I started a beet kvass 4 weeks ago, and my home blood pressure readings have come down enough that I have noticed it on the cuff. I started a fermented turmeric paste in March, and the bottle of curcumin capsules I bought last year is still mostly full. Share which one you're going to make first in the comments. I want to see if the black garlic gets more love than the beet kvass, because these were not just folk remedies. They are peer-reviewed, published, clinically supported preparations that your doctor was trained by a system built in 1910, specifically never to mention. Your grandmother knew. Now you know too. If you want me to walk you through making your first one by the weekend, grab my free 5-day course, The Lost Ferment, linked in the description. 1 ferment a day, your first finished by Saturday, no cost.